Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chiseled. And why do we call it Chiseled? Because we're all a work in progress. I'm your host. I'm Robb Commodari. I'm also the author of the book Better Than You Think and co-author of the best-selling book Next Level Your Life. Today, I have Dr. Robb Kelly, founder of the Robb Kelly Group. It's a multi-million-dollar business specializing in treating PTSD, alcoholism, addiction, depression, anxiety, and dementia. His practices with offices in Dallas, San Antonio, Manchester, that's right, Manchester, England, London, Spain, and Switzerland offers a 99% success rate program lasting 3 to 6 months, 4 times a week, focused on rewiring the brain's basal ganglia and hypothalamus. I might have said that right. Who knows? But I'll let Dr. Robb explain that. Dr. Kelly emphasized the importance of psychological and neuroscience aspects in business success. So Dr. Robb, it was over 30 years ago, because of his own addictions, lost communication with his wife and his 2 children. He found himself homeless for 2 years and actually died twice, which he'll tell us about, until he met a guy named Derek who pulled him off the streets, and they met a guy named John, and that's when life turned around for him. And here he is now with a multi-million-dollar business, saving lives, changing people's lives, and helping them be the best they can be. Dr. Robb Kelly, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Rob. Great to be here, guys. Gonna be a good one. Sit down, take it easy.
So, as you notice, he's got that English accent going on here. So, do the best you can to interpret that, everybody. It's all good. So, Dr. Robb, man, we just met not too long ago, and it's been awesome. We had a great conversation about a week or so ago, and I was intrigued and enamored by it. And you got an incredible story. So, you obviously, through your own addictions, you now are saving lives and helping people through their addictions. So, can you take us back to 30 years ago, what life was like, and how you got to where you are?
So, as you can tell by my accent, guys, I'm from Manchester, England. I moved over to Dallas, Texas about 18, 19 years ago, came for 2 weeks and never went back home again. But going back, I come from a very poor family. We grew up on what you guys would call the projects. We call it council estates. So it's a bit like prison waiting rooms where we lived. The estates with what we call estates, like suburbs where I used to live. There's probably 300 houses there. I went to normal school. I love music. I got into playing the instruments and stuff. But I got my first guitar. I think I was 3. Don't know how old. Anyway, at the age of 9, I come from a musical family. So at the age of 9, I'm on stage weekends with my auntie and uncle playing bass guitar with them. It was amazing. And one night we traveled to Liverpool. That's where the Beatles come from, guys. And we played a venue that had hundreds of people there. And they had these big, like velvet curtains. And as they opened, we were already on stage. And the idea is when they opened, we started to play. And there were so many people, I was freaking out. I got a little stage fright. I mean, it's 9 years old, for God's sake. So after the first act, we did two sessions. I came off and my uncle said, "You doing okay?" I said, "No, I don't know. I'm scared. So he said, "Here's a beer. Just drink that down in one." And I did. And the whole world changed right there and then. I asked people, "Where's your first drink?" You go, "Oh, 9, 10, 11. And was it like, "Oh, horrible, man. I spat it out"? No, not me. I knew. I didn't know psychologically that I found something, but I knew that I changed. So every Saturday and Sunday when we were playing, I had a half a beer before I went on stage. And then that continued. Left school, met a few people, the right people, and got to university. Now, people from my area don't usually go to university, but because I'm a multi-talented musician, it's the only thing I can do. I can't paint a wall or fix a car. I can't do any of that shit. I can't make a deck like my brother. I just, music's my deal. So I got asked by a friend's father to play at their Freemasons' 100th birthday party or something. 100 years old, the lodge was. So to be able to play there, because they couldn't find anybody else. The organist died like 3 weeks before. That I had to be an outer guard, then an inner guard, and then I was allowed to play. So we did that over a couple of weeks, and I played. Them contacts, because they absolutely love this little kid in the corner, 15, 16, 17 years old. From that, I got contacts that kind of Freemason looks after each other, and I got into university. Through university, I was drinking and, It was I found people who drank like me in university. But as we got closer to the exams, they used to go home at 10 o'clock to study. I'd stay till they kicked me out, which was about midnight. And then I'd go home, take amphetamines and try and stay awake to study a bit. And they went to sleep. So that was my early life. It was kind of normal, apart from the drinking, I guess. But the only thing I was annoyed about as time went on is nobody could tell me what I was suffering from. They knew the word alcoholic, but they didn't know what that was. They just thought alcoholics is somebody who drinks too much. So when it all went wrong, I was annoyed. I was very angry at these people for not knowing. I was angry at the medical fraternity for not knowing. Uh, until I find out the real truth that there's no real money in getting people well. That's not what the world is about right now. So yeah, that was it. It was crazy.
So you're 9 years old. You drink your first beer. I guess that took the edge off, so to speak, and then all of a sudden that was your fix for every time you went on stage.
Yeah.
And then so you're nine. You're playing music. You're up through 15, 16. So then what happens? Like, was it did it become an everyday thing, and or when did you realize that I got a problem?
Well, it became an everyday thing when I left school before college. I drank every day, but it was manageable. Functioning alcoholic, I think they call it. Um, but yeah, I never knew I had a problem even after everything had gone, and I'm 14 months on the streets. And I don't mean couch surfing. I mean literally sleeping next to trash cans, under bushes, on spare benches in parks. Uh, After 14 months, then something happened and I realized, but I never thought I had a drink problem. I just thought, like, when my wife threw me out because my parents were there, I got a bus to Manchester City Centre. I remember sat there the first night going, oh, well, she's a bit mad at me. Tomorrow I'll go round and everything will be okay. And the next day I slept on the bench. Next day I got the bus home, went in, and all the locks had been changed, and she called the police when I arrived. So she was serious, man. This is the girl that I stabbed 3 times because she wouldn't let me finish my bottle of vodka one night. So she'd had enough. So yeah, I mean, it was just the realization that I was on my own and that nobody's there to help me and everybody abandoned me was sickening. Never used that word before. The street, it was sickening to me. That
So
was
let me
on.
ask you this question: you said everybody abandoned you, but could somebody flip that script and said you abandoned everybody because of your addiction?
I would say yes, normally, but obviously we study the neuroscience and the epigenetics around the disease. Alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made. So with having the gene that passed down, the imprinted gene that's passed down, I was sick. I had a disease. And when I found out the hypothalamus hijacks the brain with alcoholics only and tells us drink alcohol instead of eat food and water, then definitely I did not abandon them. My daughter, after 30 years, got in contact with me and she says, you never abandoned us. I always understood that. You might have
Wow. Okay.
abandoned us. Yeah. So, it was, I was definitely had an illness, a disease that was fatal. There's no cure for
Yeah.
alcoholism.
No, no, I understand that. I do. So then now you're on the street for a couple of years. I think you said 14 months or 2 years, whatever it was. But then what was the turning point here? Because obviously we could go through the dark side, and I don't know that we need to do that. And you tell whatever you share, whatever you want to share. But you go through all this darkness. Your wife kicks you out. You're on the street, and then something changed. And if you go a little bit into that, what changed, and who was the contact person that made that change for you?
So I'm coming off a blackout early in the morning of Monday morning, sort of 1, 2, 3 o'clock around there. I'm in the factory part of Manchester, which there are and offices. There's no houses, no people there. It's just black and empty, and it's pouring down with rain. And I don't know why to this day, but I fell to my knees. I didn't believe in God or universe, anything like that. And I started to cry from my stomach. I was sobbing, 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 and I wasn't sobbing because I'd lost my children, my houses, my wife. I was sobbing because it was the first time I realized I couldn't stop drinking. I looked up to the sky and I said, if there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. And 30 seconds later, Rob, this guy walked around the corner in the middle of nowhere. He had a little Bible in his hand. Apparently, he missed the bus home from his Bible study, the last bus home. He'd walked about an hour. He took a shortcut he's never taken before, and he comes upon me. And he says, do you need help? And I'm like, yeah, da, da, da. So he's a recovering alcoholic and he's a Christian. So we go back to his house. It's the first time I bathed in 14 months. It's the first time I shaved in 12 months. New clothes in about 9 months. Proper food, 14 months. And I just felt, strange, but I did it. And then we sat down and he told me his story. I told him my story. And then he said, well, listen, here's the rule. There's one rule of the house, Rob. You can stay here for as long as you like, man, till we get you well and we get you, find you a little apartment with the government or something. He said, but you've got to come to these AA meetings with me. Well, I hated them, Rob. I hated them. It's all piss and moan stuff. I just didn't want to go. But he said, that's the rule, Rob. I can't have you drinking in the house. You've got to come. So I went, and I wasn't happy that I went. So on the way there, I'm obviously clocking where we are, and I see a liquor store, and about a block later is where the meeting is. So we're all sat down in the meeting room, and the meeting starts. All I could think about is I'm going to go to the bathroom, get out the window, run to the liquor store, steal some alcohol, run all the way back, get through the window, back out as if nothing's happened. The window was this small when I went in the bathroom. I tried to get through it, but I couldn't get through it. So I went out and I sat down and I listened to these guys. But halfway through the meeting, man, this guy said, my name's John, I'm a recovered alcoholic. That's how he said it. And he paused after that for a second. And I looked at Derek and I said, what did he just say? He said he's recovered. And I'm angry now at him because I've lost everything by now. You can't be recovered. Why didn't anybody tell me you can be recovered from this bullshit? So after the meeting, like I'm nervous, I'll walk across the room, which seemed like the Sahara Desert at the time, because I never asked anybody for anything. And I said, John, my name's Rob, would you sponsor me? And he said, no. And just before the whole world opened up and me fell into it, he said, I'll be your spiritual advisor for 12 weeks. Every Wednesday, left there at 6, got there for 7, left at 8, got back for 9. 12 times I did that. Couldn't walk up to his apartment at 5 to 7, had to be 7 o'clock, which was weird. And at 1 minute to 8, he'd walk me to the door. Mid-conversation, he'd walk me to the door and then he'd bid me a good night and off I went. So after 12 times of doing this, I knew that he was teaching something and I became a different guy. He told me that I'd be taken far away from England. He told me that I was a prophet. He told me that I guarantee that people can recover, all this crazy stuff. So he said, your life will change from tomorrow. And I said, well, I'm in Derek's basement on a blow-up mattress. Nobody knows I'm there, John. It's impossible, Next day, I'm cleaning the house. That's my job now. Derek comes home at lunchtime. I said, what are you doing home? He said, hey, there's a guy who sweeps the floor at the factory. He's just resigned. You want a part-time job? And I'm like, yeah. So we get in the car, get back in. It's great. Turned into a full-time job that week because everyone seemed to like me. So when I got my first pay packet, which was cash stapled to an envelope back in the day, I went to the gas station and I bought him a little teddy bear, John, and a card. And I wrote on the card, thank you for introducing me to God, because he took the compulsion to drink away. And I went back to John's, man, and I'm so excited to get there. I'm like, I can't wait to show him, tell him what's happening. I was working with people. I was going to A meetings. I was doing all the great stuff. When I got there, I don't know, man, it just seemed a bit different to when I was there. Knocked on the door, nobody there. The woman on the right hand came out. I'm knocking that long and says, can I help you, love? And I said, yeah, where's John moved to? He said, John who? I said, John, your neighbor. And she said, well, I've only been here a couple of months. I've never seen anybody. Sorry. So I went around to the left-hand side and knocked on his door. Big guy came to the door. What do you want? Where's John relocated to? John who? John, your neighbor. And he says, I know what you're talking about. John, I was here for 12 weeks, man. He was next door. I know the place. It's the place. He wanted to tell me that if you open that door and stepped in, you'd fall 2 flights down and probably kill yourself. It's a bit like that.
Dr. Rob, can I interrupt you for a second, man? So
Please.
if I'm hearing you correctly, so you were going to this guy's, you were going to this physical place for 12 weeks.
Yes.
And now you're coming back and knocking on doors and there's no such person.
No.
It's almost like a sci-fi movie.
Yes.
Yeah. So keep going. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead.
The Twilight Zone. It felt like a Twilight Zone. I'm like, what the? So I come away. The next day I went to the meeting where I met John, because I'd never been to that meeting before, ever again. And the chairman noticed me. He said, I used to be known as Robert. Robert, oh my God, you've come back excellent. So I'm like, thank God for that. I thought I'm going crazy here. Does John still come here? And what nights does he come? And he said, John, who? And I said, John, the guy said he's recovered. I'm over near the coffee machine and we're talking, spiritual advisor. And he said, Rob, we thought you'd found God because you was over near the coffee machine speaking to yourself. We thought you were praying, Rob. Never found that guy.
No way.
And when I got wealthy, because I was always meant to come back and have my second life, I spent thousands upon thousands with a private detective agency, and they could never find him. But what he taught me is 90% what I do today. And people, we are absolutely mind-blowing. The nearest success rate to us is about 11. We're 98%, bordering on 99% recovery. And if you fail, we'll give you money back. The only company in the world that does that, but most of that's John. It's a crazy story. So as my life continued, you know, Derek got me into a little apartment. I opened a little practice, psychology, and then sometime later, as the years went on, I wasn't doing good. I was just surviving, but I was loving my life. And then I got an invite to Dallas, Texas, by a church who says, we want you to come over. We've got a crack cocaine problem with our teens. So it was booked for 2 weeks. Now, crazy stuff happened from that moment on when John told me that everything had changed. It's things like this, Rob. So it's all booked. The trip's booked. They booked my plane. They booked my taxis to the airport. I'm so excited. It's like 2 weeks to wait. I couldn't wait. I've never been to America. I've only once been out of the country. And about 10 days before I get all my stuff out, get my passport out, it's expired. And I'm like, oh my God. So I jumped on the bus. I didn't have money for a car. And I went back down to Liverpool where the passport office is. And I went in and I filled it all out. And he said, yeah, it'll be 4 to 6 weeks. And I said, 4 to 6 weeks? No, I've got to have it before that. We said, do you want to expedite it? I said, yeah, when will it be? About 3 to 4 weeks. I said, oh my God. So I paid it because I was there. I went back home. And man, I was crying and, you know, and I didn't want to call the guys and say, hey, by the way, my passport. My biggest opportunity just went through the door. I couldn't go. I don't. So what the plan is, right or wrongly, is to wait till the day before, call them and say, hey, you know, I can't come. I just checked my passport, or I'm sick, or just come up with some excuse that I can't go. And 3 days before I was going to fly, so now we're 6 days. We're 6 days from the flight, and a knock came at the door. I opened the door, and the postman was there, the mailman, and he handed me a package, and in the package was my passport.
Yeah, I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
No. And I would never tell this for years and years, Rob, until I met a guy who'd had similar. So when I share this with people, they go, oh, yeah, let me tell you my story about God. And it's just absolutely amazing. But cancer, that disappeared. Yeah, that disappeared. The overdose with the hospital ones because I had back problems and I was dead again for 30 seconds. It was just, it goes on and on and on, the stuff and the miracles that's happened to me. And the reason I like these podcasts and the reason why we find the right person is telling the story. You know, when people listen and go, but you've got to research it, you've got to look at the work we've done. I mean, from where I was homeless, or even the projects, but definitely homeless, to where I am today. The guy that writes for Harvard University Psych Hospital, McLean Hospital, the guy that works with all the actors and movie stars and stuff, you know, the guy that runs 5 offices around the world, that guy is sat here today, and it's humanly impossible. So I knew God. Yeah, that was an angel.
So go back to John, right? Because when we were talking before, you're like, yeah, I met a guy named John. And I'm thinking that's a guy, and you're thinking it's a guy. So going back to John, and I think we can all read between the lines here. Who was John?
Well, at first, I just put it on my mind, but yeah, he was definitely an angel. Stuff
Yeah.
like listen to this, Rob. So I'm in his house on the last day, and he said to me, "Listen, I want you to remember one thing. Remember out the Bible." I said, "I don't read the Bible, John." He said, "No, listen, Isaiah 61." I was like, "Okay, then." Isaiah 61. So I bid him a good day. And the last time I was there, I walked a bit different back home to Derek's. It was amazing. I got home and I said to Derek, "You got a Bible?" He went, "Yeah, I'm in recovery. Of course I got a Bible." So we looked up Isaiah 61, and I'm going to mess the passage up. It says something like, to heal the sick and bring great news. No, to heal the suffering and bring great news to the families. That's what I do today. So when I got to America, the girl that picked me up from the airport from the church, I stayed at her house. And about 4 or 5 days after we were there, she got a job interview. She'd been out of work for about 3 years. So it was an architects doing all the accounts and everything. So I drive her down there. She goes in. It's about a mile from the house, ideal location. She goes in. She's in there, Rob, about 3 or 4 minutes. She comes back out and said, he wants to see you. I said, what? He said, he wants to see you. I said, I'm not going in as a crazy guy. What's to see me for? I've got nothing to do with your job. He wants to see you. So she kept saying, I'm like, I've got shorts on, I got a t-shirt on, I got flip-flops on. I'm like, he wants to see. Okay, I'm coming in. So I went in. Shook his hand and sat down, and it all went quiet for a minute and said, we've been waiting for you. And I said, well, I had to park the car. He said, no, we've been waiting for you for years and years and years, and you're finally here. Just like God told us you would be. Well, straight away, I'm thinking, Sue, you don't need to work here. This guy's a crazy man. His name was Hardy Brown, very educated guy, believed in God, but they had their own group, not a traditional church. So he's telling about the church and telling about, he says, yeah, we know all about you. The prophet come in. And it's like, I don't get that. Anyway, he said, we need you to speak at our group tomorrow night. And then he turned to Sue, the girl, and said, by the way, you've got the job start Monday, which later found on there's about 10 people yet to be interviewed. And we shook hands, and I walked to the door, Rob, and I opened the door and I turned around and said, oh, by the way, what's your group called? And he said, we're called Isaiah 61.
Oh my gosh.
Stuff like that, like all my life I've been coming across. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I just let go of everything. I'm like, whatever happened, happened. God's told me to tell a story out, because I used to not direct to my face, like, oh, God is Rob, the God guy. Look at Rob. You can't guarantee, but there's no cure for alcohol. I've got all that stuff, not to my face. But, you could hear them, and friends would tell me they were talking about me in the AA and they hated me. I don't care. But yeah, I let it all go about 5 years ago, and stopped caring what people think about me. And I stopped caring about stuff in life. I just get on with my stuff, and life is amazing.
So I'm going to call you. Can I call you Rob?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So Rob, it's amazing. So you've been doing this for 30 years, and you just said 5 or 6 years, let it go. So for the first 24, 25 years, were you going through this process of what you're doing, and was there still questions in the back of your mind? And then what was the point? What triggered you to say, I got to let this go?
Well, I asked God to take me to a different platform so I could get a bigger audience what we were doing when I came over here. And things happened. So I came over here for 2 weeks, ended up staying. Now I've got 3 months in the country legally. I either apply for my green card or go back home. That's it. So we applied, for the green card. But before that, after about 2 weeks, I'm in the country. I go to this AA meeting, and I met a few guys. Anyway, one of them said, I need you to speak tonight in Austin. It's a freaking 3-hour drive. I've never spent 3 hours in the car in England. I'm like, I'm not going. You need to come. I put your name forward, and it goes down there, and it's an outside meeting, which means it's dark. And the only time the light went on is somebody went behind me. The security light came on for like 20 seconds and went off. I'm trying to read from my book. I couldn't. I thought it was the worst talk of my life. And then I come off. Everyone was applauding and stuff like that, shaking my hand. And this guy come up, and he said, "Hey, I'm from FMS Productions. We are a video filming company, and we just do videos for the treatment industry and prisons and stuff like that. We'd love you to come, and we want you to record like 3-4 different episodes." And I was like, okay. I've heard this before, by the way. So I got back in the car, we drove home. The next day he called. I think it was Peter, because Peter used to drive us all around. He just took a shine to me, him and his son. So Pete came around to the house and he went, "Hey, listen, that guy's called." I'm like, "What guy?" "The guy from the film thing. Like, apparently I've checked it up. It's good. It's bona fide." I'm like, "What?" So the next day we all travel back to Austin, and we meet these guys. And there's about 3 or 4 of them, all dressed really nice. We sat in the restaurant. He goes to tell me that, they have the most famous doctors on there, and he showed me a list, and all the top doctors were there doing videos on, stuff like psych and psychology and stuff like that. So I was into. All of a sudden, I went, "Bing! This is real." So this is. I'm useless on time. 3 or 4 weeks after I've arrived. Anyway, they signed me to a DVD contract, which was filming all day Saturday, all day Sunday at a hotel in Austin, and they paid me $100,000 for it. And I was like, and the most I've been on is like 15,000 back home. I was speechless. Anyway, it happened. It happened. We went down and we filmed it over a weekend, and we finished early, and they gave me a $5 grand bonus early. And I thought, well, that's it. That's all I'm getting. And then he gives me a check with 100 grand on it. So that 100 grand that I got set me up in Dallas, Texas.
And how long ago was that? How long ago was the 100 grand thing?
Gotta be, I think I've been there for about, I keep saying 16, 17. My wife said 18, 19. So 18, 19 years is what I'll go
Okay.
for. So then I got a little practice. I transferred all my licensing over, and then we're in practice for about a month, and we get a call of an agent in Hollywood. Says, "Hey, we got this guy. We've heard from." I'm like, "Where'd you hear from me?" Can't remember, but we need you to we got this guy, and you need to come and see him, work with him. And he mentioned an extortionate amount of money to work with him, so we did, and that's where everything took off right there.
And the Hollywood call was, again, 16, 17, 18 years ago?
Yeah, something like that. I think
So
16.
so what led to you saying, I'm going to let this go, though? Because that's still 13 years prior to the 5 or 6
Yeah.
years.
So what happened in the last 10 years, let's say, is I was doing a lot of TV. I was on Oprah, I was on The Doctors, I was on Dr. Phil, I was on Eye Opener, which was syndicated, went out to about 12 million people every day. I was on there 3 times a week, signed contract with them. So everything was starting to happen really quick. People were calling up, asking for me by name. I want to work with Dr. Kelly only. And this height was like whenever I went anywhere, people recognized me. So instead of going, "Oh, that's brilliant," the pressure started to build up, going, "God, if they only find out who I was, Rob, if they only found out, that it's just me and I'm kind of winging this," which I wasn't, but that's what my head tells me. You go on a production stage, they send chauffeurs, private jets for you. It's like it all got a bit too much, and I started to believe the hype. And that's
Okay.
the biggest thing anybody in my position can do is we went to Paramount Studios in Hollywood to film something. And of course, they pick you up at the airport, chauffeur, they take you to the best hotel, they wine and dine you kind of thing. And I finished, and everybody was standing and clapping, and I come off, and I was in the moment. I was like, yeah, that was all for me. I really, really, blah, blah, blah. And I come off and I shouted to somebody, I think it was my assistant, "Jenny, where's my chauffeur?" And my wife walked straight over to me, and she kind of pushed and grabbed me at the same time. And she said, "If I ever hear you say that again, this marriage is done." It was about 10 years ago. I can't remember, 9 years
Right.
ago. But yeah, it's the first time I've heard a curse. It's the first time she looked at me. And right there and then I knew I was surrounded by the right people. And my assistant's like, "Yeah, you're amazing, Robert. Do me a favor. Never, 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 never do that. Never treat anybody like that. You come from the project."
Wow.
So yeah, so it's only 5 years ago. And I thought, it is what it is. I'll do what I need to do. I stopped worrying about what other people think. And it was just like, I had to do some more work on my childhood trauma, just to let that go, because with childhood trauma, you have this like a side effect on that. You think everybody's out to get you, and all of a sudden, everything you've got right now will be gone overnight. So you're
Yeah.
living in fear all the time, fear, and if it go wrong, and and it was just horrible.
So you lived in fear for a long time, and it sounds like you had a little bit of imposter syndrome too. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, it was just the imposter syndrome for me is huge. And then I was overworking with people because, you know, when you were getting paid what I get paid, which was insane. It is today. It's an insane amount of money because we guarantee the success. That can really mess you up if you're not careful. So, the imposter syndrome was, I come from the projects, man. I
Yeah.
was homeless, and I'm sat in front of this guy who's one of the biggest movie stars in the freaking world, and he's looking to me to get help. And my head goes back to the counselor and say, "What the hell are you doing here, Rob?" And I start, it's a little stage fright again in front of these
Yeah.
guys. And then one day or something, many years ago, you realized how good you are. And that's what I try and work with people today. It's like, when my parents died, we went over to clear the house, me, my sister, and my friend, clearing through all the old stuff, mum and dad's stuff. And he found a load of photographs. And he pulled a black and white photograph and he showed me, he went, Rob, look. And it was me and him, body, we're about 16, 17. And we were, bodybuilding, and our waists were so small and our arms were so big. And we looked so handsome and attractive. And he said, look at that. Look how attractive it was. Look at, oh my God, look at the body. Look at the physique. And then he said, those were the days, Rob, weren't they? And I said, well, we didn't know those were the days, did we, back then? So what if today's one of those days? And that's how I've lived my life since, is you've got to understand how good you are today, because no one's going to tell you. Nobody's going to tell you. Hey, did you see what Dr. Robb did? This is true in Dallas. You should see what Dr. Robb did with that guy that was suicidal. I know, right? He's amazing. Dr. Kelly's amazing. I know, right? Have you told him that? Oh, no. I mean, he already knows. Nobody knows. I'm putting that out there, guys. Nobody knows until you tell them. So part of my deal to all my patients, which are over 10,000 now, is you have to compliment three people every day, man. You've got to do. I'd hate to get, and I don't want anybody listening to this, to get to the age of 80, look back and realize how good you were at 50.
Yeah, I love that.
That's a crime, man. Everybody's powerful.
Profound.
Anybody can change the world. You can, if you don't like your job, get a new job. If you don't like your spouse, get a new spouse. But it's not that easy. It really is that easy. As human beings with childhood trauma, we stay in relationships way too long. Then we stay in jobs way too long. And we've got other job offers, but we're going to stay. It's a safe job. And what happens? 5 years later, you get let go from that safe job. Now you're 55 years old. Nobody wants you. Yeah. And you could have done lots of things. You could have become a movie star. You could have been a comedian, but you stayed at that safe job. No, alcoholics and addicts, depressed people get 2 lives in one lifetime. Don't mess the second one up, guys. Realize how powerful you are.
Yeah, Rob, I got a couple questions here for you. So profound stuff there. So you're talking about like, things coming really big and the insane amount of money. And, I imagine like I believe, we all have to have there's egos there all the time. They have to have, you hear the term healthy ego. So how do you keep your ego from getting overblown? Let's call it arrogance and humility. What's the fine line between those two, if there is one?
There is. I surround myself with the right people. Number one, there's a crew around me right now. There's only about 4 people, and they're in my inner circle. They keep me grounded, And secondly, I've never watched a TV program, a podcast, a radio thing that I've ever done. I've never read my book, and I think that's the way I stay, me as well as trying to, I never want to believe that hype. We were in the big Dallas Maverick Stadium watching a band, and we sat like up in the VIP section. And just before, about an hour for the band, there's thousands of people there. And my wife turned to me, and this is when I was on TV most days. He said, Rob, we've been married a few years now, and this is the only time I've had time, just me and you together. I swear, Rob, somebody went, oh my God, Dr. Robb Kelly. Hey, bud. So it's time to take time for you, and we step away from that limelight in Dallas about 5 years ago when we came to San Antonio to retire. It wasn't the case. God's like, yeah, no, I'll give you this life. We're going to continue to the day you die. And it's funny, Rob, my dad always said something to me. He said that he worked for the gas company for like 50 years or something crazy. He retired on the Friday and he got a part-time job, 6 a.m. till 2 in the afternoon, cleaning the local college. And I said, Dad, why you do it? And he said to me, Rob, the day you retire is the day you die.
Yeah.
Guy's still cycling like 10 miles and he's 83 years old. So I took a leap off that. So I'm never going to retire. Don't know what the hell I was thinking. So yeah, life is good.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. And then like you talk about, you said everything comes as a result of some kind of childhood trauma. I'm sure there's different traumas along the way. And I think I told you a story, like I created this what about me syndrome,
Yeah.
And like I know sometimes I get triggered myself when like there's 3 people and 2 people are doing something and you feel left out and you're like, what about me? And I go back to when I was 5 or 6 years old. My sister and I, we had birthdays that were one day apart, which meant, and she was 364 days older than me. And we had this party, and everybody came for her. Everybody came for her. And I'm like 5 or 6 years old. I'm like, and I'm like, what about me? And so every now and then, like when something happens, and you feel, you tell your story, you tell yourself the story that you're left out, and you're like, I go back to the, well, what about me? And I catch myself.
Yeah.
I can't sit here and say I fixed myself, but I catch myself. And
Yeah.
so I'm still a work in progress. But
Yeah.
I'm just sharing that what I call my what about me syndrome.
Everybody has childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Everybody. Oh no, everybody has childhood trauma. If your life is not perfect, let's say you're a money guy, if you're not earning $20 million a year like you wanted to, if you're struggling with relationships, if you come to a stale in your business or your love life or whatever, it's all down to childhood trauma. Yeah. Now, alcoholics and addicts, depressed people, PTSD people were more sensitive to that trauma. You know, we hear things, alcoholics and addicts hear things different because we were born, you know, with this kind of nervousness all the time. Like when me and my brothers stood on the kitchen table, we were probably about 6 or 7. We're not supposed to be on the kitchen table, you know. My mum walks in, she went, "Get off that kitchen table before your father gets in. Get off." My brother jumps and I freeze. And this is one of the most fascinating things I've known, it's basal ganglia stuff, is what I heard. And the reason I froze, "Table, you stupid idiot." That's what I heard. So when I say to certain people, we hear things, they go, "Oh my God, yes, I thought I was going insane." I'm like, I'm telling you, we've studied this stuff. But everybody has it. And unless you clear it up with somebody that knows what they're doing, 9D, brain spotting, NLP, subliminal messaging, stuff like that, you're never going to go past the 50% capability of what you're really capable of doing. You just won't do it. So trauma just, well, I've got no trauma. No, but let's look at your life. And you keep having failed relationship. Well, yeah, it's tied to trauma, man. Like you get the young girl growing up in a violent alcohol family where dad comes home 2 or 3, 4 times a week, drunk, gets into a fist fight with mom. They get up the next morning. "I love you. Oh, I love you. I love you." What the child is checking in is this, that the violence is love.
Yeah.
So when she leaves the house, when she goes in her own apartment, college, or whatever, 100% guarantee my life on this, she will attract the same guy that ends up beating her and ends up substance abuse or something like that, to the effect that if she did meet a good guy, she will self-sabotage that relationship because it feels weird. That's how crazy it is.
It is crazy. Would you say there's like trauma? I hear the word trauma. I hear like really bad stuff, right? Are there different levels of trauma?
There is, depending on what you're suffering from. If you're alcoholic, it's all bad. It's all big trauma. Little T's, small. I don't get that. I don't buy into that at all. With the right mindset and brain as you're born, all traumas are big to alcoholics and addicts. And then we found PTS people and depression and stuff like that. It's all big stuff. There are different levels, but it's only because the feelings and how we take that. So you've got to go back. Alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism. Same with drug addiction, food, sex, crime. It's not the problem. So you have to go back. Alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made with addictive personality. Most people that come here with a heroin addiction started in the doctor's office, 90% of people. But when we trace alcoholism back, we have to look at a couple of things. If we're born this way, how we're born this way? Well, we've got to look at imprinted cells, even at the fetus, even at the fetal stage. These imprinted cells become, let's say it's alcohol or alcoholism, they might skip a generation. So you've got to look at the early stage. When we're born this way, we're born differently. 3 parts of the brain differ, and we actually have an allergy, but we can actually trace it back before birth and see them imprinted cells and genes that have been passed on. Drug addicts, not the same. Both present themselves and both are horrible, blah, blah, blah. But one of them is hereditary. And we have records and trials and tests and records upon records and records to back this up. But yeah, it's generational, and you've got to be careful. Now, are there alcoholics that never touch alcohol? Sure. They're the guys that are running Apple and Google. They're the really smart guys. You see, what people don't realize is we've been knocked down that far telling people, people telling us how bad we are, how waste of time we are, is when we sort ourselves out about everything we talked about. Once you get clear of the addiction and the childhood trauma, we are geniuses. I beg anybody to challenge me on this. I don't know one stupid alcoholic or drug addict. Never. All of my staff throughout the country, throughout the world, all my staff are recovered alcoholics and addicts, or depression recovered, PTSD recovered, all of them.
So, Rob, how does the program work? We obviously you work with people. How do people get engaged with you, and how do they work? How do you take them through a program?
So most of our work, unless you're in the 5 locations, 6 locations that we have, is done telehealth. So 90% of our work is telehealth, where you come on. Zoom is a great HIPAA compliant software, and you come on, you spend an hour a day with me. Well, you spend 5 days with me, an hour a day, 2 days with my psychotherapist or the NLP girl, which ask me about that later. And that's it. And every 3 weeks, we travel out to come and travel to you, and we spend 2 or 3 days with you. And then we come back and we go back to the telehealth. I went back to got a second PhD in behavioral science just because of Zoom. We were doing Zoom way before everybody became a telehealth provider with the pandemic. Watching behavior, watching hand movement, watching everything you can tell. 90-something% of communication is nonverbal. And I found the behavioral science stuff that I took is invaluable, especially when it comes to online telehealth.
Yeah, and I did you an injustice, but not even I'm mentioning this in the intro. Like you have a PhD in psychology from Oxford University at Trinity College, and then you have the PhD in behavioral science as well. So I didn't even mention that. So thanks for sharing that. And it's like to me, like I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued because I'm on this personal growth and spiritual journey myself, and I'm always looking to get better. I'm always looking to increase my awareness, and I don't have any that I know like traumatic things, but I have my own, like I said, levels of trauma. I guess it's all relative to who you are and where you are, right? So
Yes.
it's more a matter of relativity than it is levels of trauma, right?
I just want to go back to my PhDs. One was from Oxford, the other one's an online course from Southampton. So I didn't take them both at the same time or anything. The second one's just purely to learn. But yeah, I mean, it's all there. Everybody has the opportunity to get well. Everybody has the opportunity to build an empire. We work with real estates. Our new one now, right now, we're studying Alzheimer's and dementia, onset dementia, and 9D software we have. Amazing. But we're going about to sign a contract with Keller Williams. We're going into their offices and we're putting everyone on this 9D software. I think there's 70 programs now, and we pick out certain things you can do, and every single one of them has doubled their salary or double their sales in the last 6 months. It's not.
You're already working with Keller Williams. You're already
Yes.
working with them now.
Yeah, and a bunch of independent. We went into business, guys and entrepreneurs, but real estate was really suffering. So one of the girls that came here was a patient. She's a realtor. They said, "Well, that stuff work on me," and I'm like, "Wow, well, let's try it." Well, we did. It was very successful. So yeah, it's not so much like there's loads of houses out there. Why are you not selling all of them? Well, because no, stop. Well, the people have not got any money. There's loads of money around. Stop that shit. The reason why you're doing it is because of you. Because you get to a capacity or a level where you put the brakes on because of childhood trauma. You don't think that you can attain this. So you stay there and you come up with all the excuses we want to. No. You're either going to do this or you're not. Stop playing around with this shit is what I tell people. If you want to get well, if you want to succeed, if you want to be the real you, find your identity. Today is one of those days and you have to move, man. The 7.3 seconds is the time frame it takes to split neural pathways from good to bad. So if I'm sat on the couch tonight, I've got a big can of Coke, which I don't eat any of these, big bag of chips. I'm watching TV with my wife and the dogs and the cat and everything, and I see Arnold Schwarzenegger come on, and I go, "Hey, you know something? I think I'm going to the gym tomorrow." I ain't going to the gym tomorrow. I know it. She knows it. The dogs know. Even the cat's like, I don't think so. But if I get up within that 7.3 seconds of me saying that, I go to the bedroom, I get my sneakers and my shorts and everything, and I put it either in the car or near the door I'm walking out. There's a 99% chance I'll go to the gym.
Yeah, that's funny you say that. I kind of do that sometimes too. I get my gym bag ready to go because at night sometimes I'm not feeling like going to the gym in the morning or working out in the morning or doing the yoga in the morning. And I'm like, if I got that bag ready and I got it where I'm going to see it before I leave,
Yes.
I'm going to do it.
Powerful,
Yeah.
man. Every morning when we wake up, the mind programs the brain. Hence the saying, mind over matter. If we could program this guy to be successful every day, wouldn't that be great? Well, we can. Why don't we Well, first of all, little people know about it. They think the brain wants to show. No, it doesn't. What happens is when we wake up in the morning, we're low on oxygen. And the reason why we're low is because between 2 and 5 on a normal circadian sleep pattern is where the body's at its lowest and at its repair. It's also when people die of natural causes the most. So when we wake up, and the reason we never wake up laughing, lack of oxygen. So the subconscious brain loves the hypoxic situation. That guy wakes us up every morning. We've had scientific tests, research, and trials on this. It's mind-blowing. So the subconscious brain wakes up. That's the guy who's never going to do it. That's the guy who'll do it tomorrow. Don't worry. I'm okay on 100 grand. I don't work. I'm not worthy of $500,000. That guy wakes us up, man. How do we get rid of it? Simple. We want the conscious brain to click in. So we do our breath work. 20 exaggerated breaths in and out real quickly. It kills this guy for 24 hours because the brain resets after 24 hours and it sparks up the conscious brain. The reason why it sparks the conscious brain is this guy loves oxygen. So when this guy's running the show, if you can breathe, we only breathe 45% of our lung capacity. When you go to the gym, the only reason why you feel good after the gym is not the work or the sets or the barbells in between sets. You ask runners or cyclists, man, they're getting all that oxygen. We don't do that. We just don't do it. And by changing that, we call teeth work and mirror work as well in the morning, you can change your life, man. And you've got to get rid of the guys around you that are naysayers. Rob, gone, finished. And there was one guy the other day, right? I found myself with powerful men, hate weak men. I got no time for weak men, powerful men. And one of them is jealous of me. We all know it. Okay. And I came in the other day and he had baggy clothes and he said, because of my weight loss, oh, I said, you're putting weight on there, Rob. No, I'm joking. He's gone. I don't need him in my life. You see them little tiny, I don't need him. He's gone. And the other guys, well, thank God for that. We don't like him. And we all lift each other up. And if you're not hanging around guys that are lifting you up every single day and vice versa, man, you're not going to do anything with your life. You're really not. So we did a test. We did a trial and test to find if we hang around, let's say 9 people, is it hard for me to change them 9? Or is it easier for the 9 to change me without me even knowing? This is the mirroring part of the brain. So we got 9 actors in our waiting room and we paid them to come in. And one patient that we said, come in, we'll give you a free session of this 9D thing. The actors were told one thing, well, a couple of things. Sit down, pretend you're patient. We'll call you in one by one. But when the buzzer goes up, I want everyone to stand up. Wait a couple of seconds, everybody sit down again. And we do that until you call in one by one. Deal? Deal. Stage was set. How easy is it for other people to program our brains into doing something that we never thought of doing, especially exposing ourselves? All sat down, the patient comes in, sits down as well, the stage is set. 9 people stand up, all they have to stand up. She thinks of other patients. So she's on her phone, quick glance back to her phone. Everyone sits down after 10 seconds. 45 seconds. Everyone stands up again. Now the phone's on her lap and she's looking around, thinking, what's going on here? Now all 9 standing up. It's crazy, but she's like, oh, okay. Everyone sat down. Third buzzer. Third buzzer. She stood up with everybody else. Okay. And she sat down, which we was hoping would happen, but we didn't know what this would happen. One by one, we called the actors in as if they were patients until she was the only person left in the waiting room. She stood up. And that's how easy it is to change somebody's mind. So if you can do that with a simple experiment, okay, what can we do when we start work with you? Here's a well-known fact in this company. Again, we can prove this. That when your mind is energy, power, you can't touch it, feel it. But when it connects to another power outside you, neural pathways have changed. Your DNA changes.
Yeah, you talked about that change in the DNA, and I mean, like I said, I'm jumping through the screen right now because I love this stuff. So you talked about earlier. You used you're a certified NLP practitioner now, so that's neuro-linguistic programming, right?
Correct.
So how does that play? How does that play into what you do?
Well, it's really just we do subliminal messaging and NLP. It's a language that you get people to do stuff. So subliminal is I'll show you how to do that in a sec. But subliminal is you can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't touch it. We just slip in words and you go on the 9D. There's 9-dimensional subliminal stuff happening to your programs of brain. NLP is a little different. Now, the reason I asked you to tell me about NLP is this: 30 years not seeing my children. They took them off me ages 1 and 3. My 3-year-old said, when the authorities came, because I was drunk in charge of them, Daddy, Daddy, please don't go. Daddy, Daddy, please get better. And the last thing she said at the gate, she turned around, she holding Mummy's hand, is Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking. And I couldn't do it. And 3 weeks after that, I'm homeless. So 4 years ago, ping, middle of the night, messenger. Now I have to get this. I work for these high profile people and they text. This is the only bad thing about my job. When they text or message, I got to be going. There's a plane at the airport, be there in an hour. I got to go, man, no matter what I'm doing. So ping, I check it. It's my daughter, Rob, Charlie Kelly. I spell my name with 2 B's. She spells her name with 2 I's. Okay. And she said, Dad, she called me Dad, Rob.
Mm.
She called me Dad. I've still got that framed on my wall. And said, I've seen you on TV. I don't believe what Mum was telling me all these years. The time is right. 25, I can't remember the time. So I've got something to show you. Can you come over? So we have people around us, as you can imagine. So within, I don't know, an hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours, we're on a plane back to England. We get there about 8 o'clock at night. We stay in a hotel. Next morning, we go round. I'm nervous. I'm crying. My wife's got me. She's holding my hand. This is it after all this time. What kind of father was you? All the times you let her down, nearly killing her mom. I got to the door and I couldn't knock on it, Rob. I was about to turn away and walk away, and she opened the door unexpectedly. We hugged, we cried, we laughed within the minutes we were there. And then she grabbed me by the hand and she led me into a front room, a living room. And she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter.
Gosh.
Tell me there's no God, Rob.
Yeah. Yeah.
And about 6 or 8 weeks ago now, my youngest daughter got in contact with me. So I'm
Both of them have been in contact with you. Both of them.
Yeah. So when I saw my eldest daughter with the baby and everything, she said, "I see what you do. I want to do what you do." So we sent her back to college, Rob. And as of 2.5 years ago, she became my leading therapist in my Manchester office.
That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. And we often work with the same patients, and they absolutely adore that, because if you haven't done it, if you haven't been there, you can't teach anybody anything. So people look at me today, what do you know about losing your kids? Check, homeless check, all these checks that I have off that I suffered, which I thought was suffering at the time, Rob, but was really like a semester at Harvard University. The stuff I learned on the streets, man. I met surgeons on the street. The stuff I learned on the streets, it became my greatest asset going forward. Because when people identify with each other, we're being authentic. Now, the highest form. So how do we know that? So we put 10 people in a room. Okay, come in and have coffee. We'll give you $50. Come in. What they didn't know is we had 2 doctors, 2 surgeons, 2 cleaners, 2 mechanics. We just make sure that we wide them up, the brain and the heart. Now, listen to this. When a surgeon met a car mechanic, they didn't really have much in common. Obviously, you can imagine. When a surgeon met a surgeon, so it's all on a graph, 1 to 100, okay? But to find out the authenticity, the way the heart moves. When a surgeon met a car mechanic, it's okay. When a surgeon met a surgeon, it went up by about 20% because they had a lot in common. This is what blew our mind, man. When a mechanic met a surgeon, where they were both being authentic, skyrocketed to 100%. So true authenticity takes you to different places and will take your life to a different level. Always be authentic every day.
What does that mean, Dr. Robb? Because I hear people, I know what it means, but when I hear people say it all the time, hey, you got to be authentic. What does that mean?
Be you, be truthful, be you. Everyone's got the secrets, everyone hides stuff I don't want to see. I surf porn, I don't want to, that's good, it's fine. But when you meet another human being face to face,
just be who you are.
Be who you are. So if he's a surgeon, don't start talking about operations. Just talk normally. Hey, I have two cars, I'm a mechanic, blah, blah, blah. He does what he says. You get a general balance of each other where the mirror and brain connect. And all of a sudden, you're almost BFFs because you're being authentic. This is what you get. I go on podcasts, like sometimes high profile podcasts, and you go, Dr. Robb, listen, is anything you don't want to discuss? I'm like what? Well, like what? I've got a book out there. Yeah. I'm open. If you ask me the most intimate question, if you ask me how much money I've got in the bank, I'll tell you, I don't care. It's just me trying to help you. I'm in a position in my life now where you can't touch me with your comments. You can't touch me with your negative reviews. It's me, you know? And as Cat Williams said, there's only one of us wearing $12 worth of jewelry. I love that. It's so many levels that saying, but yeah, I've done it. I've been it. Everyone knows who I am,
Yeah,
and
you made me think of something. Like I got a buddy of mine. His name's Mark Bradinsky. He uses this. He wrote a book. He's got a movement called the You Matter movement. But he says your suffering is the gift to the world.
oh, love it.
Your suffering is, and what you suffered through has now become your gift to the world.
Yeah, that's
Is that a
it.
fair statement?
100%. By the time you don't think so, by the time you think, poor me, what about me?
Yeah.
That's all we think at the time. But what you don't know is God, whoever it is, universe to you, Uncle Jimmy, he's taking you through this and preparing. So if you're sat at home and you don't think you're on that to anything, and you don't think if you failed at something, maybe you're on your own, the husband's left, you've got 2 children. Well, first of all, I want to apologize to you because somebody's put that there, that you're not good enough. But the problem, the solution is that you are. The solution is that anybody can recover and move forward. We see it every day. We see thousands upon thousands of people getting well. You got to remember one thing, guys. The food industry gets you sick, and the pharmaceutical company keeps you sick. That's it. Let's look at depression. So depression is an easy one to describe. I have depression. Hey, wifey, I have depression. Go see the doctor, man. Go to the doctor. Hey, doctor, before I can say I have depression, he's always wrote me a script for medicine, for depression medicine. So then I go home, start taking this medicine. And after a couple of weeks, I start feeling okay, not the best I've ever felt. Let's take that back and see what's really happening in the human body. When we look at the word depression in the medical dictionary of the USA, it's described lack of serotonin, one of the 4 chemicals we need to be happy every single day. Serotonin and endorphins are created in the gut, not the brain like the other two. What's happening is he's giving me a false, so my serotonin is low. He's giving me this artificial serotonin. A couple of things happen. One, I can't get mine higher than the false one, so it depletes over time. Now I'm stuck on here. I'm stuck on there rest of my life. If I come off it, I'm going to be suicidal. And I'm stuck on it. And they like you stuck on it. There's no money in getting people well. It's just the way you go into any supermarket, 90% is sprayed in cornstarch. Most of the stuff you buy, even with 9 grams of protein and 0 fat, turn it around. The first ingredient, canola oil, sunflower, all that stuff. It's seed oils, man. And do you know who started
Canola,
that stuff?
sunflower oil.
All seed oils, man. Do you know who started that movement off? Rockefeller. When he found out that the big steam engines were going out and these little cars were coming in, didn't need as much oil, he created a group around him, some kind of health group. Listen to this bullshit. Some kind of health group that he paid and bought for, and they all came up with these cooking oils are good for you, and we should be eating them every day. And Mr. Kellogg, who created Kellogg's, the breakfast company, his brother called Dr. Kellogg, convinced everybody that breakfast was, no, it's not. And their oils are not. What do you need? You need 4 oils in your life. Okay, let's have a look at the 4 oils. Real easy. Okay, coconut, olive, avocado, and a grass-fed ghee butter or something like that. That's it. Look at what you're eating. Oh, Dr. Rob, I just can't understand it. I send my kid, is 6, 7, 8 years. I send him to school every day, and he's in trouble every day. He just can't seem to sit still. I don't know what's wrong with him. He can't concentrate. Okay, well, can I ask you what you give for breakfast? A Pop-Tart and a berry and cereal.
Mm.
So you've just given him 9 spoonfuls of pure sugar, and you expect him to sit still? How one of the most famous drinks we have? Diet Coke. It has more sugar than normal Coke. It's disguised, though, in nice words that you don't really understand. But
Yeah.
Gotta be careful, man.
What were those oils again? It was coconut oil.
So there's coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, and a ghee or a grass-fed butter.
Yeah, I got the ghee, I got the coconut, I got the avocado, I got all that. I got to do a better job, but I'm doing it. So
it will change the way you think, guys, because it clears up. All the bad seed oils does is clogs everything up, makes you think different. And I don't mean to scare anybody, but we're going to the scientific way or going to the biological way that how the body works. So while I'm eating this crap, like McDonald's fries over here have 22 ingredients, in England, 3 ingredients. Okay, so we've got to look at what we're eating. If we don't, this is what happens. So let's say I'm eating this artificial food that I cannot methylate. So as a human, it's not meant for human consumption. Let's say it's seed oils, for instance. So I can't methylate the seed oils. See, everything we're putting into our body is converted into the source that's needed for us to operate as a human being. So if I can't methylate a certain protein or food, there becomes a deficiency in the body. That deficiency causes cancer, causes heart problems. So I'm eating the same staple diet as my dad because I lived with my dad for like 19, 20 years. So when we come out and kind of doing the same food, I don't know anything else. Dad creates heart problems. Later on in life, I create heart problems. And I think I caught it off my dad. No, you can't methylate the same stuff that dad can't methylate. And what happens to you is you happen to get the heart disease. It can be cancers. It could be anything. If you can't methylate, there's a deficiency. If you don't feel that deficiency, there's an illness, especially in hypoxic areas of the body.
That's interesting. I follow this guy, Dr. Gundry. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
So he talks a lot about it. Same language you're saying here, and it's got all these oils and good healthy oils you should be eating, and all this bad stuff you shouldn't be. So it's all good stuff. But man, thank you so much. And I got a question for you. So you've been doing a lot here, man. You've come a long way. You're helping a boatload of people out here. How much more? You said you're never going to retire. You said that I'm never going to retire. How much more chiseling you think God's got going on for you in the future?
I'm excited to find out. I mean, I don't know. I just know that as long as I'm alive, I'm going to be working with other people. The idea in San Antonio is, as years go on, we just started the Robb Kelly Foundation. As years go on, I want a 100-bed facility in San Antonio for people who have mental health problems, half paid, half free. And in that free part, we'll have, clothes, we'll have benefits, we'll have housing, we'll have all this stuff in there that can sort you out. And after I've done that, because we give 25% of our money away. So if you can imagine, I probably do about 6 million a year. I don't know. 25% of that goes back in the communities, man. We're always daily helping people. That's why the foundation we created about 4 months ago. We're always trying to help people because, if I've got, we always keep $5,000 in the safe, just in case somebody comes. I don't take checks, like a builder or something. It's fine. But if I hear somebody struggling there, and they never know, the golden rule is don't ask. Let's see. We see a mom come into one of the meetings. She's struggling. I'd rather give her that $5,000 than it's stuck in my safe for the next 6 months. And I'm blessed enough to do this. Most people can't, but you have got time that you can give people. I bless somebody monitoring every time I leave the house because I can. Now, in the early day, I couldn't do that, but I listen to people. I allow them to talk to me and not talk, because you always get one of them guys in a group, don't you? When you're telling a story, he can't wait for you to finish because he thinks he's got a better story. Instead of the other, like, oh my God, yeah, well, I went up a mountain and
Yeah.
The
The one upper, right?
Always, man, always.
Well, yeah, I just did something on listening too, because if we're anxious to tell our story or one up somebody, did we really listen to what they just said? We probably didn't.
No.
And so that's a skill. It's a skill you can learn. Look, I was just guilty as the next person. I wanted to tell my story. And I'm learning to shut up. Right, I'm learning and then take it in and then process it. And then I think part of it's letting go because we're so worried about what we're going to say. Just as you're talking, something you say is going to trigger. Don't worry about what's next, but something you say is going to trigger the next question.
Yes.
And that's how I process it. So, man, I appreciate your time here. I know you're a busy guy, and you're helping, like I said, a bunch of people. Dr. Robb, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, or connect with your company, or take you on as a coach or mentor or whatever, how do they get a hold of you?
So if you're listening and not watching, guys, I spell my name with 2 B's, ROBBKELY.com is the website. Join any search engine, Dr. Robb Kelly, 2 B's, and you'll find me. If you're intrigued about the 9D stuff, go onto the robbkelly.com and there's a tab for 9D. Go read it. If it was me, we're kind of talking to the health minister, JF Kennedy, right now. If it was me, everybody would have to do the 9D breathwork journey when they leave school, because it's the most fascinating, up-to-date science that I've ever seen. And we didn't invent it. Another company invented it, but we ran with it. And we did our test on Alzheimer's and our test. We have shown a 13% increase in Alzheimer's and dementia people after they've been everywhere. So have a go, look it up. If you need anything, message me. And I tell you what, as well, there's a book out there called Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. The last thing she said to my daughter. There's my daughter. There's me wasted, completely. Wow. Don't remember that photograph, on a visit to my mom and dad's house without my wife knowing. I got 5 copies to give away only for this show, mention Rob or myself, and then I tell us your name. I'll come and find us on Facebook or something. I'll sign it to you. I'll ship it out free of charge. This will be free of charge. So for nothing, going to get the book on one condition: give it to somebody else when you finish with it.
Wow, I love that. I love that. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. And I'll put your information in the show notes too. So that's great stuff. Dr. Rob, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for your time, your wisdom, your presence, your energy, and the positivity, and all the good stuff you're sharing today. I really appreciate that so much.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me on. Bye, guys.
Yeah, and until next time, everybody, let's go get chiseled.